scratch, wampum, dough, sugar, clams, loot, bills, bones, bread, bucks, money. Money is, at its essence, that measure.
Welcome to the Ozark podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. That's right. I am Jamie G. Esquire, the fifth MD, Master of Surgical Arts. No, I am not accepting new patients for surgery. He is Magnum Mills, and we're about to break down the sixth episode of season 4 of Ozark right here on the Ozark podcast.
Episode 6 of season 4 of Ozark, Sangre Sobre Todo. Again, this was released on January 21st, 2022 on Netflix with the rest of the first 7 episodes of season 4. This was directed by Wright. This is the first episode of Ozark that she has directed. It was written by Michael M. Chang and Jet Rap Goldstein. Guest starring John Bedford Lloyd as Frank Cosgrove Sr., Kevin L. Johnson as our boy, Sam Dermody, Tess Malice Kincaid as SAC Hannah Clay, Joseph Sikora as Frank Cosgrove Jr., Angela Relucio as Dr. Judy Lynn, Richard Thomas as Nathan Davis, and Carson Holmes as 3 Langmore. The plot summary for the episode is Marty's tasked with proving Omar wasn't involved with a bombing. Wendy pays a visit to the Lazy O Motel. Ruth and Wyatt make a plan. Jamie G, break down what the title card symbols are for us and any other notable callback appearances or whatnot.
Absolutely. Another bizarre but very cool week for title card symbols. This episode, we saw a bottle cap, not 1, but 2 cherries, coffee with a spoon and creamer, and a stethoscope. Very strange, very cool, a psychological wonder, if you will. And yeah, we like that shit. That's good shit. Sangre Sobre Todo is a Spanish phrase that translates to blood over everything. And it was a perfect title for this episode, in my opinion. We'll break that down in our likes in just a little bit. Javi takes his mole hunt to the next level. Boy, oh boy, did he ever, by booby trapping a truck that was about to be seized by the FBI. That's right, an attack on FBI agents. Big shit by Javi. Darlene survived her heart attack. We did learn that, which wasn't a sure thing given how the previous episode ended. Again, a little bit of a cliffhanger there. We do realize that she survives. Marty finally wears a wire for the FBI. I mean, this has been something that's been brewing now for the better part of a season and a half, and pretty interesting here to watch that finally unfold. And we saw Wendy be so completely desperate and out of control, trying to regain control over Jonah, that she went as far as trying to get him arrested. I mean, well, you know, we've been saying it for weeks. There is no low enough for Wendy Bird. And that is just, it's really remarkable just to see where she's come, where she's now using her own children to get what she wants. Fascinating stuff, Magnum Mills. This was episode 6. Again, only 6 and 7 left before we hit the break of this first block of 7. And man, oh man, this was a good one. Let's break down some of the likes, big guy. What were some of the things that jumped off for you?
Kind of like we expected. The last episode, episode 5, felt a little bit like a piece-moving episode where they were setting up to kind of really hit the gas going into the final 2 episodes. I think they really do that here, you know, and I gotta say, just right out of the bat, that Darlene, she might not be Trina, she's not the baddest bitch, but she is a tough bitch surviving that heart attack. And, you know, in the hospital, she still she seems like she's like gonna get out of the hospital bed to fight Wendy. And, you know, Wendy, to her credit, is, you know, big dick and a little bit sitting there, just fucking with Darlene. And the tension between those 2 women, those 2 actresses, is fucking amazing. Like the amount of just shading, the eye acting that's going on. Just, I mean, like they don't have to say it. Just like you can see Wendy, like the way she kind of like is forcing this smile. It's just, I think, brilliant acting overall, and something I just enjoy completely. These 2 women fucking hate each other, and it's fantastic.
100%. And again, we've been talking about this psychological war and strategy that's been going on between Darlene and Wendy for, you know, definitely for this entire season. And this, you know, we saw the pendulum start to swing away from Darlene and back to Wendy here. And she feels like she's got control, and she loves it. She gets to manipulate, she gets to overpower, And I mean, she straight up said, we will take everything from you. We already took your heroin. We already took your land for our casino. Do you want us to take everything else? I mean, and she means it. So yeah, just a cold-hearted killer in Wendy. And man, the animosity Darlene has for her is just jumps off the screen. So couldn't have said it better myself, good sir. One thing here, Magnum Mills, that was something that, you know, was kind of a big deal that happened in this episode, and that's we get to see Frank Sr., Frank Cosgrove, the boss of the Kansas City Mafia. And I have been very vocal about my disappointment in how this show has handled the KC mob. We saw him come into Darlene's house like a bat out of hell, and man, oh man, did he give her a piece of his mind. I absolutely loved him in this. It was only 30 seconds, but boy, did he let it rip, dude. I'm talking, I mean, it was awesome. Actor's so cool. It just made me wish, you know, it's a like, but in a way it's a dislike here for me, because it just made me wish we had more of him. And I wish they used him right. But man, oh man, was that a cool little scene before he gets, you know, again, Darlene with a shotgun in her hand. Somebody about to die, baby. Somebody about to die.
I will say, A, absolutely fucking loved it. B, you knew as soon as he walked in and the camera panned around and you didn't see anyone else standing next to him, you knew Darlene was shooting his ass, right? Like, you knew that's where it was going. And then as he starts talking and she just walks into the next room, you know fucking well she's going to get the shotgun, right? Like, you would think that this dude, obviously a seasoned mobster, would at least, you know, and I'm not hating, because again, I love the actor, the character. I think this is going to lead to interesting things for Frank Jr. Fuck, I mean, come on, knowing we know about Darlene, you just have to know, right? Once he walks in there by himself to yell at her, he's getting murked.
Another thing for me was the Ruth Wyatt dynamic here. We started to see, again, we've been talking about this all season. There's this war. This is a show about one big war with wars inside the war, with inside the war, with inside the wars. And all these characters are wrapped up in them some way, shape, or another. And they're very diverse. There's a whole universe of little battles brewing here. And we've been talking about the Ruth and Wyatt, or the Wyatt and Darlene, but the three of them cannot be, you know, coexisting here in a happy, healthy place. So we saw Ruth start to win the battle of Wyatt here a little bit, where she got so, you know, Wyatt got so upset about, you know, coming in and seeing Frank dead after she blows a hole in his chest with Darlene, that he runs to Ruth and he tells her about it, and they kind of carve out this plan. She's fresh off the money from that heroin deal. She's got 100 large, and you know, shit, she's thinking, man, I could get him out of here and we'd go do anything. And he starts to believe it a little bit here. And it's just, you know, it made me wonder, could they really leave Ozark? I knew in my heart of hearts, probably not, if, you know, cards on the table, but I did like this little pendulum swing here. And again, I think it was the last one before, you know, we kind of hopefully come to a conclusion with it.
I absolutely like that, because it led to something I like, which was Ruth kind of shooting her shot in a way, doing what she didn't want to do, which is basically like setting someone else up to die. When we saw before, when she had to do it, she did it herself. She wired the dock. But here, she's kind of like, all right, if I can set, you know, these guys to go up against Darlene, like the KC Mafia, then I get Wyatt. Like, if Darlene's out of the picture, then I definitely get Wyatt, which is, I think, why she tells, you know, Frank Jr. what happened. And I think that all works extremely well. I buy that Frank Jr.'s character has changed. So I think that he can have these interactions with Ruth. And when you think about it, Ruth is just running. Who can Ruth actually trust anymore? Like, the whole thing is, like, she even trusts Wyatt, who's supposedly probably the only one. She's feeling alone. So there's a chance she might wind up, say, trusting Frank Jr. as much as she trusts Marty.
Yep.
You know, and on that note, the one kind of relationship I do like that's developing, what I like when they share scenes together, and that's Ruth and Jonah. They're kind of fun. Like, you see them having the 6-pack of beer, and Jonah's trying, like, isn't he like 14? But anyway, like, he's trying to open the beer, and you see Ruth, but they're talking and they kind of understand each other on a business level. Like, he is really mini Marty. Like, it's a weird juxtaposition. Again, I love using juxtaposition, word of the podcast, but you're seeing Jonah function as kind of a little bit of where Ruth was when the series opened, in as opposed to where she's, you know, looking to get on with Marty, but she already knows the stuff, where Ruth is kind of the Marty now, but now, like, the younger person has the knowledge that she needs. It's a really interesting way of kind of taking the Ruth Marty dynamic and flipping it on its head and applying it to Marty's son. And I think that's ultimately what the show is trying to do, is to one of the themes, at least, is to make you think that how much are children tied to becoming their parents. We see Charlotte really becoming, Wendy Jr. or mini Wendy or whatever you want to call. And Jonah's taking great pride in like not being a great money launderer. He's not shying away from Marty did. He's running head on and bear hugging it. So I think
he thinks he's going to be better.
I think parenthood and nature nurture are two themes that the show really wants to kind of engage with here.
And Magnum Mills, for the record, it's called a mini Marty and a widow Wendy. It's so widow Wendy. But that's where I'm leaning with this thing. But yeah, dude, I think you're spot on. And you're right. Jonah's running through the wall saying, I'm going to be a better money launderer. My program's already better. I do agree with you with that dynamic of Jonah and Ruth. And you got to believe, just maybe, Ruth starts to trust Jonah. Maybe Jonah fills that void. We'll find out. They're certainly spending a lot of time with each other. Let's go back really quickly to Wyatt here. I think you kind of realize that Wyatt is a good person in a really shitty situation. And, I'm glad they're finally kind of doing something with him here, but it's so funny, because he's going back and forth with this thought around, what do I do? And, Frank's dead. Darlene killed another person. Do I run away with Ruth, or do I, so I like where we're kind of seeing at the truth of it all here. Wyatt's just stuck in a really bad situation. For the first time, I actually kind of feel bad for the dude.
And I thought this was a great kind of, again, juxtaposition where they have the scene of Wyatt burying the body by himself, with Darlene kind of having the lights going, with the juxtaposing with the previous scene where it was her and Ruth burying the limo driver's body by themselves. So it's kind of like the idea, like Wyatt is getting more used to this. He's getting sucked, more into Darlene's world, or the Snell world, or whatever you want to call it there. That was something I really did enjoy quite a bit, and was a very positive like for me. One other thing I like we haven't really talked about is kind of the fixer character, Jim, that came over from the dude there in the second season. That Wendy's kind of been using, and she basically reads them in full time here. Like, do you want to be exclusive to us? You're not everybody's fixer now. You're just going to be our exclusive fixer, lawyer, whatever, that guy. You've seen him in shows like House of Cards, Billions, all the good people. They have that guy, the fixer lawyer guy. And as Wendy's trying to sell him, I thought there's a little bit of weird sexual tension there. I'm not sure if it would ever pay off. I don't think it would be a real affair, but if you just told me one night Wendy was pissed at Marty and they bump things, I would buy it. And the other thing is, he has a fucking great line when Wendy's trying to sell him or whatever, and he looks at her and he's kind of like, you got a little bullshit stuck in your teeth. I've never actually heard that phrase used that way before. I think it's fucking outstanding. I'm going to use it in my IRL, in real life. You should too.
Absolutely. It's in the rotation. Mills, this is a weird one for me, man, because while you're right, that line was up there with maybe the best line of the episode. I mean, it was great. I didn't like this because I just felt like the sale wasn't good enough. Like, why would he do this? He wasn't pissed at all. Like, I'm thinking, man, if I'm Jim, and I know maybe there's a little bit of corruption, something's not exactly right here with these folks, but I'm hitching my wagon to the birds. And then I find out, like, it's not exactly like, hey, we've got a small little white collar deal going on here where we're doing something, our house isn't completely clean, but we're not full blown working for the cartel. I mean, I didn't buy it. He just seems so nonchalant about it. Like, why would he do that? He could be working for anyone. To me, it didn't add up. But I did love his line of, you got a little bullshit in your teeth.
That right makes sense. I think that's one of those things in my head where I've kind of written the explanation myself, and that is, this dude can always get the dirt on everybody. So I just assumed he knew already, and he's kind of just humoring her, and he knew that before he took the job. Because this dude's already, he seemed plugged in enough to get information for the senator and stuff. You would think he would be able to, again, it's not like the birds are really fucking hiding it. There's got to be files at the FBI about this shit or something at this point. So it shouldn't be a huge leap that he could figure it out. Maybe at least that's, how I justified it to myself. But yeah, you are right. They don't give you anything on screen that does that. You have to, make the connections in your head, I feel.
Yep. And speaking of the FBI, boy, oh boy, did Javi show some Cojones here, man. Javi went rogue, went on his own here, and decided to bomb the FBI. He's hot after the mole. He knows someone's snitching on him. He can't stand it. Blood over everything, and he decides to make a bold decision here and put bombs in one of the trucks that the FBI is going to pull over, and attacks. Basically, has an attack on FBI agents, which is a big deal, right? So that is an act of war to a certain degree, certainly a war on the FBI and the cartel. This was a really big move. I liked it. I thought the scene was done really well. I kind of knew it was coming, but I don't want to take anything away cinematographically from how they did this. I really liked how this looked, visually with the aerial scene as Agent Miller's watching it from afar on her computer. Like this, I liked how this looked, and I thought the scene was done pretty well.
I think it was a cool open. The only problem was I just sniffed it out. I don't know why, but as soon as it was happening, again, it almost feels like something that happened on Breaking Bad or something like that. I was just like, oh yeah, this is a trap. It just felt, and even like she senses it, and I think the idea is to mean like she's smart enough to figure it out, and we're obviously supposed to know, right away that Javi did it, and that's one of those things. Is I kind of was wondering how they would circle back around to that, and ultimately, as we discussed it kind of the intro, winds up with Marty wearing the wire, which is not necessarily something that we thought we were going to see, but it's also probably not what we also thought we were going to see back like in the beginning of episode 5 when it's like Javi and Marty on a fucking road trip together.
Let's talk about the other big character here in Wendy. How cool is Wendy to Charlotte? Like, Charlotte's making her so happy now. She even poured her a scotch, the good stuff. I mean, Charlotte's constantly able to have wine at dinner and whenever she wants. Like, Wendy's kind of a cool parent to Charlotte, I suppose, and a total psycho to Jonah. So just a strange development here. But no, in all seriousness, dude, I think we finally saw the episode here where Wendy yet again achieves another low of all lows. And my money is on the fact that I think she's not done yet. Like, it will get lower, I think. And we saw that this week with her basically intentionally planting the flags on Jonah to get him caught, premeditatedly doing this, calling into her boy Jim, finding out if he'd actually do jail time. I mean, this is crazy, and doing it without any consultation from the boy's father, Marty Bird. Magnum Mills, has Wendy gone completely off the rails here, bro?
Yep, you nailed both things I wanted to kind of discuss and things that I liked, but they're kind of things about Wendy I disliked, but from a narrative plot standpoint, I'm enjoying them, and that's Wendy slipping Charlotte that scotch, but it's really just to lube her up to get her to like, hey, can you ask Wyatt to ask Darlene to stop, to take them posters down? It just goes to show you now that Wendy basically has an ulterior motive to every move that she fucking makes. It's going to lead you to a certain place eventually. It's, you've kind of seen that with her where she's not sure, like when she's kind of, in a political mode, Wendy, and then she tries to snap back to reality and she doesn't kind of, like I'm worried that there could be a big break there. And then the whole thing where she, goes into the motel, obviously sweet talk Sam, fucking great. Of course, Sam's stupid and lets her in. Absolutely fucking hated the fact that she could just pick a lock with a paperclip. If you know anything about lock picking, you can't really pick any kind of actual lock with a fucking paperclip like that. You just can't. And Wendy's never showed that kind of skill before. I'll give her recognizing the account numbers or whatever, but yeah, dude, just the whole fact that she is willing to give Charlotte scotch and say, hey, fuck college or whatever, but then she wants like absolute control over Jonah. It just, I don't know, it's kind of inconsistent to me.
Oh yeah, she is she's out there, bro. Dude, how cool was Omar Navarro playing the birds with that speech to Javi, telling him he's taking over and essentially getting, it's your job now, and blood over everything. And you realize, damn, he's actually playing the birds. And then only to find out later, he totally does a double cross and plays Javi. I was like, whoa, dude, that was pretty cool for me, man. I liked how they did that as this episode developed. That was definitely a like for me.
Again, I think I very much enjoy the two actors, Javi and Navarro. I'm not sure the two actors' names, unfortunately. I will put them up on screen or something if you're watching on YouTube. but I think they have excellent chemistry together, and I really buy them. It's kind of this kind of, uncle nephew dynamic, but they're a little bit closer than that, maybe because they are the closest living relatives they have to each other or whatever. I really buy them, and even watching them without subtitles and only being able to pick up like every third or fourth word in Spanish, you can get the gist of what they're saying by their body language, by the way they're acting. I think they really do a tremendous job. I was pretty skeptical of this plot line with the cartel, but I because of the performance of the actors, basically, I don't think the writing's great for it, but I think they're carrying it, doing a great job with it. And I actually like the scenes between Navarro and Javi more than I like any of the scenes with like Navarro and Wendy or Javi and Marty or whatever. Although, I did like the Javi Marty road trip scene, but that's about it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Dude, I really liked Marty sweeping in to save Jonah, and how bad Jonah was freaking out here when he made the mistake, when he realizes his account's been flagged. And what's cool about this is, again, we're seeing a connection and something that's definitely going to last between Jonah and Ruth. Jonah's first phone call he made was to Ruth. The first one. Ruthie's the one that said, call your dad. This happened to me before. He fixed it. And it was just so cool to see Marty just like casually stroll in there, almost like he's proud of his boy and he's happy to have a little bit of parenting where he's going to teach him something cool and like show him how to do it and be like, don't worry, it's fixable. I just, you see that kind of like, that's almost like, the son messed up, like trying to rebuild the lawnmower, and the dad's coming in to teach him how to do it. And it's like, okay, this wire goes here. I like that scene a little bit.
100 over 100 for me, because it also fleshes out with the way Marty talks to him. It makes it clear that he really did teach him, maybe not everything he knows, but quite a fucking bit, because the way Marty talks to him is the way you talk to somebody who knows exactly what the fuck they're doing. So we didn't see a lot of that. We only saw the rudimentary, like literally like putting cash in a dryer type scenes. But this does show that Jonah really had probably earned that knowledge, or at least had it passed down from Marty. That pays that off. And then again, yeah, this also shows that Marty is smart. He's very, very fucking good at this. And that's important. Like, that one of the whole things in the series, the whole reason Marty Bird's alive is he's supposed to be so fucking good at this. And it, Jonah, obviously he's very good at this, but he's also still a kid. So the way he freaks out, I think, is pretty great. Very realistic, and one of my favorite, I think Jonah's definitely on the rise as a character for me, probably ever since the death of Buddy. I would say, didn't, maybe not a huge fan of the stuff with him and Ben, but I get why they did it. But as far, the kids, his arc, I think, is definitely, preferable to Charlotte's from now, just because the show doesn't seem to know exactly what they want to do with Charlotte. Well, they have an idea kind of here of what they're doing with Jonah.
Yeah. And this again, this thing with Jonah, this really helped drive the wedge further and create that tension between Wendy and Marty on completely disagreeing on how to handle their kids. I mean, Marty was siding kind of with Jonah in front of Wendy when he first found out, saying, Jesus Christ, Wendy, when he had no idea she would do that. And I think he's having a hard time believe she's capable of doing something like that. So this, again, it's just enough to make you think, man, as much as I want this family to stay together, this might be broken. And it's almost like Marty almost said it, like, when we get back to Chicago, it was almost like he was like, we're done, like we're getting a divorce. But then he realized, like, he can't say that. And I think that's an important development here between, the two of the three leads here, and Marty and Wendy.
You can almost talk about the context of every scene like that in like what we saw with the flash forward at the beginning of season 4, which is kind of the elephant in the room, which we're not bringing up here, but you have to ask yourself, how do you get from where they are at this point to all those people in that, minivan together in that scene?
One happy family.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing here. I really think that this show is pretty much firing on all cylinders. Yeah, like, we didn't love the last couple episodes, but again, this is not every episode is going to be Dark Side of the Moon or whatever. They're not all going to be on the top 200 list forever. Sometimes you got to get the characters into position. I think the episodes, doing a good job of that. Jamie G, if there's anything else you'd like, let me know. Otherwise, maybe we move on to what quite didn't work for us in this episode.
The FBI thing for me, Magnum Mills, just was a big miss, man. I don't like, and I don't buy Agent Miller going rogue. And like, then what? She's not fired. I just now all of a sudden they're going to consider making a deal with Javi. Like, I just didn't really like her going rogue and arresting Navarro there without the support and backing of the FBI. That fell apart for me with that plot line with Agent Miller.
Yeah, and again, that just kind of speaks to they've always struggled with the FBI in general. I think all the featured agents, especially, they've maybe done a little better with Maya than they did with Roy before or whatever, but still not something that I've really loved. Again, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but right away, that opening scene, I figured that the whole truck thing was a trap. Worked out that way. I don't really want to pat in the back. I just would like the show maybe to not quite be so obvious. And then there was a random thing where we never really, if I remember correctly, we never heard Ruth talk about her mother before. And then she mentioned this whole thing about how her mother died in a hit and run and they never found out who did it or whatever. And it just seemed to, I don't like, they're going to like, you, why would you say it and not come back to it? But if you come back to it, you only have 10 episodes or 9 episodes left. Do you really have enough time to add, like, we went through the whole thing with the Ruth's dad plot. Now we're getting the Wendy's dad plot. Do we really need the Ruth's mom plot? Maybe it's just a throwaway line, but if it is, it's kind of a weird throwaway line that has a lot of pressure on it because we've never really heard anything else about Ruth's mom.
And it opens up kind of a can here, but like you said, in episode 6 of the front block of 7, there's only 8 episodes left for them to really develop that storyline. It seems like there's a lot of other irons in the fire. We talked about Wendy being so ruthless. I mean, I guess the show did kind of a good job. Like, it wasn't that appealing watching Wendy just bully and kick Darlene when she's down. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a decent human at heart here, but like, it's got to be something more. Are they setting her up to be able to manipulate and make her a chess piece? Like, why go through the effort of save her just to like manipulate and bully her? Is Wendy really just that psychotic? Like, is she really that big of a sociopath where she's just, that's what like gets her off now? I don't know.
I mean, honestly, when she went to Darlene's hospital room, it almost seemed to be like she was just gloating, be like, I could have killed you, but I didn't. See this power I have over you? And like when she tries to get up, her kind of laughing about how weak she is. And it honestly just seems like it's almost, personal. Like Wendy's just fucking with her on a personal level. And I don't know, we've seen vindictive Wendy, but never really quite this personal, because this feels very, very personal to the point where I remember writing in my notes, it's almost going to be unsatisfying if it's not one of the like that kills the other. Like, you know what I mean? If Wendy dies, I want it to be Darlene. If Darlene dies, I want it to be Wendy, kind of.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. One of the things that bothered me here, and I think this has been one of the biggest misses this entire season, is the Birds' relationship with the FBI. And we really saw it come to light here with Marty wearing a wire. I don't necessarily mind that, but it just highlights how terrible the show has, terrible of a job the show has done letting us know where exactly the Birds are with the FBI. Like, we went from last season, like total denial, being scared of Agent Miller, auditing the casino boat, to now we're just straight up admitting our ties. Like, nothing happened in between to get to that point. And there's just admission of guilt after admission of guilt. And there was never like any like explanation as to why. So I just think this is a huge hole that unfortunately it's going to be with us for the entirety of the final season here.
1 word, 2 syllables, gaping. I mean, Vin Diesel could pilot a plane on top of a submarine down the chasm created by this plot hole. It's just pretty ridiculous. All we needed was a couple of scenes to set like maybe even 2 scenes to be like, all right, you're going to make a deal. Yes, here are the terms of the deal. You're absolutely correct. There's no rhyme or reason to what Marty is doing as far as like, now he's denying, now he's wearing a wire, he's openly admitting to Maya about talking to Navarro or bringing Navarro to her. None of it makes any sense. And I think the show honestly just knows that it doesn't. So they're just basically doing the plug their ears and the fingers in the ears and going la 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 la. I can't think of a better explanation. So that definitely puts it on the dislike list for me.
Yeah, let's just ignore it. Maybe they won't even notice it. Yeah, it's definitely like
remember the Russian in the woods? I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it happens to the best of them. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was slightly bummed about Wyatt choosing Darlene over Ruth, and I just wanted, like, I know there's probably not going to be a lot of like storybook ending here, but I wanted to see maybe Ruth and Wyatt run off. Like, I thought maybe that might be a cool thing, but in my heart of hearts, I guess I'm not surprised, but it didn't make me happy. I guess I appreciate them trying to highlight Wyatt's, he really cares about Zeke and he feels like he has a family there. And I also think it points out, A, the importance of family, but B, the importance of neglect on parents, and then what type of complexes it can cause. And clearly there's some of that going on here with the Darlene and Wyatt relationship. But this it kind of bummed me out a little bit, man. I was pulling for, I feel bad for Ruthie, dude. Like, I love Ruth, and I was feeling for her here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's that ream, dude. That Ruth rules everything around me. You do love the Ruth. And I do think that kind of adds into the kind of just the sadness you feel for the Wyatt character. The show's never really known what to do. And when he proposes and accepts, he also kind of couches it in, like, he tells Darlene he loves her, but it's also to keep Wyatt, or to keep Zeke, from being grabbed by social services. And you would think that social services would see, like, okay, so these two people who are like 50 years apart in age are getting married. Like, y'all sure
as we threaten to take your kid, as we threaten to take your kid.
Y'all sure you're not just doing this? Ain't no green card marriage, whatever the equivalent of a green card marriage is for adopting a kid or keeping that would seem
mail order, baby.
I can't believe that would work, really.
Yeah, it's certainly a little far-fetched. No denying that. Look, man, this was a good episode. I like this one a lot, but it definitely highlighted some of the big holes in some of the plot lines here, man. Let's grade this baby. How clean is this money? Magnum Mills, give me the laundry list here.
I think it's up from probably the last two episodes again. I think you came out of episode 5 with that banger of an ending. You got some momentum going here. Most of the things I didn't like are more kind of long, ongoing plot quibbles that I have, not things specific to this episode. So I think I'm going right back to that. I'm going to go slightly above the 77 I went before. I'm going to go up to a 79 here, kind of that solid C+, light B- range. 79, dude.
I love where you're living. I'm going just slightly north of there at an 80 solid. This one strikes a soft B- for me. I mean, very soft B-, but some would say flaccid B-, but it's still a B-. 80 for me. I like the way this one moved. And again, I thought they created some action here, and this thing is setting up for an outstanding episode 7. I remember finishing this one and being like, oh man, I've taken one bathroom break and boom, getting right back into episode 7 here, because I love how they set this up, and really 2-3 episodes in a row here of good setup to get to this final climax on the first half of the season, man. So this was a good one. And you've been listening to the Ozark podcast. I am Jamie G. Esquire the 5th of the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm here with my best bud, Magnum Mills, also of the Joe Blow Football Show. And we're breaking down episodes of the brand new season 4 of Ozark. We just did episode 6. You should be liking, you should be subscribing. Magnum Mills is going to tell you where you can do all that, because guess what? We got episode 7 coming up next.
That's the man, Jamie G. Lovely voice. Am I not wrong? And if you'd like to hear more of his lovely voice and my very practical ass shit, all you need to do is search on your favorite podcast streaming platform for the Ozark Podcast. We're on social media, the Instagram, the Twitter, all the good ones at Ozark Podcast. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show. Just go to joeblowfootballshow.com. Takes you right to our YouTube page. When you're there, if you could, please subscribe. Really help us out a lot. Like that. And if you could, like this video. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. You can send it to ozarkpodcast@gmail.com. I'm Magnum Mills. That's Jamie G. Make sure your money's clean, or we might carve a
And if you
little
don't
Z in
know,
your forehead.
now you know. Keep that money clean. This has been the Ozark Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. We are not in any way, shape, or form affiliated with Ozark, MRC, Aggregate Films, or Netflix. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Any views or opinions expressed here are personal and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations who may or may not be associated with the Joe Blow Football Show. If you have any questions, please contact us at ozarkpodcast@gmail.com. That's ozarkpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment.
I'm so fucking focused. Yeah.